everyone.
Hi guys. I don't know why I
Hello.
didn't respond to you saying
It was
ready.
so bashful of
Ready.
you.
Hi
Hi.
guys.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi. I don't know why I've just been really monotone. Hi everyone.
Let me turn my blonde personality back on.
It really is dark outside now, but you can't tell. Well, if you're listening to it, you
I
can't
feel
tell.
like you kind of can tell.
You can't. It's fine.
I'm
You can't
saying
tell.
it's giving cozy vibes.
It's winter. One of these. Okay, I'm Eliz.
I'm Lilyemma.
Welcome back to Blonde Vibrations, the Platinum Mixtape.
No.
Oh, Champagne Whispers. I've even written Platinum Mixtape here. What number are we?
11.
Oh, it's number 11 on the 11th of the 11th. Oh.
No way.
Oh, I don't
Is
know
it
how
the
I feel
11th of
about
the
that.
11th
It's
today?
the 11th of November.
Oh my god, I didn't know. I didn't manifest at 11/11.
It won't be when you Oh my gosh! And even weirdly enough, wait, look at the time that I uploaded these question boxes. 11/11, not today. And also, not to give away my job or what I do, but I had to hand out something for a room number today, and it was 11. And I was like putting the keys 11 in, and I was like 11. Sorry, that was a really horrible noise for anyone listening.
Guys,
You're all
this is a
listening.
special episode.
It is.
Because 11 is like the strongest manifesting number.
It is. So if you're seeing it, well, it's not 11/11 anymore.
No, it'll be the 18th.
Oh, that is. Oh, well, this just goes to show how, like, in preparation we are. So if you're
like,
seeing.
Editor Becky is like, thank you guys.
If you're seeing, like, 18/18, because at some point it's going to be, or even 11/18 on the 18th of the 11th, anything like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, we should do something about manifesting. That should be another episode.
Yeah, I thought you meant like today. I was like, should we stay up till 11/11?
We'll be up at 11/11.
I've got work tomorrow, babe.
We're going to be up at midnight. 23/11 for some.
What do you mean we're going to be up at midnight?
We are. That's what. It's not curfew.
It's a Saturday night.
Oh, I wore this t-shirt on purpose for the visuals. So it says here, I am your number one. What does that say? Fan. And then, without moving too much for the focusing, can we read this? Wait. Oh, just slipped. Can you see it? Does it say, I heart Saturday night?
Saturday night. I might take a picture.
I
of
love
that
Saturday
with the
night.
camera for my story. I think that'd be really cool.
So I did that just for you because I've not worn this. I was washed this. Worn this in a while, and I thought it's Saturday.
You kind of reserve it for Saturdays. Like you wore it that time at the Cherry as well. Do you remember we did a photo shoot of you? It's in the most like inconvenient place because obviously you don't want to take a picture of I love Saturday night on a Saturday night. But it's not even like your back. It's like the back portion of your shoulder.
For those listening and not watching, it's in the top left shoulder blade. Like, but the number one fan thing is front and center on the front of the t-shirt. Like, that's exactly where you want like the fun things. Yeah. But you can't possibly wear a Saturday night t-shirt on like a Tuesday, right? What does the rest of it say? Stay here forever. And I love you. Well, those things are universal. Oh. I love you again.
Oh, only you.
Only you. And Kenzo, because that's what top it is. So it was in a sample sale. I'm not like loaded. Anyway, we have not even told you what the topic is.
No.
So tell us, what is the topic? Go ahead.
Learning to feel comfortable with independence and alone time. Is that how you have it written down?
Yes. ... Because this is quite an interesting one. I've written here. We all have differing levels. Like
that is crazy.
What?
I have written
differing levels. I didn't even know if differing was a word. We all have differing levels. And this is going to get a bit like weird, but I feel like we were all forced to socialise until age 18. We didn't really have a choice about it. In some kind of way, we were in school or education once upon a time. And then in your adult world, it really is fend for yourself. You have pure autonomy as to whether you don't see another person. You could go so long without seeing someone if you so wished. Or you could choose to fill out your days just on friend date after friend date after friend date. Yeah. And it's all based on your autonomy.
Especially when you go to university or enter the workplace. It's so easy. Like sometimes I go to something university. I don't want to say a class because I don't have classes anymore. Sometimes I go to like sessions and I don't know what to
Our
call
old
them.
uni nights out were called sessions.
Like, because I call them training sessions, but that sounds like
but it's a class, but it's
so
not
I go
class.
I go to a class, and I can go in some days and I'm like really friendly, I make some friends. Other days I go in, I do the class, I go home.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of sums up, especially if you're in like an undergraduate degree where you have like that is your life, that is what you do. And you can really choose how independent and how social you want to be in those scenarios.
Because at the same time, from like a complete works perspective, you could work in an office job where you're just at your little cubby and then you go home and don't really like see other people, or you could be on a social team, like you could be really part of a team. You could be working. Retail is very social, so you just like talk a lot to people, you know, depending on what you do. If you work in a gym, that's also very social. Like if you're on the gym floor with other trainers and you're also talking to clients, that's another form of like filling the social, like the needs. If you picture it like Sims, like the social, like, well, it's not socialization but like fun, whatever, if you find it fun. But yeah, there's different things for it, and it's just where you fall unhappiness with it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that obviously this episode's about like independence, but I think in that phrase itself there's different meanings of that, because I would say that I'm independent because I don't live in the same city as my family and moving away is independent. However, I'm not the most like solo person ever in that way. Yeah. But I wouldn't say I'm a dependent person because I don't spend a lot of alone time.
Yeah, well, okay, we'll create the base level here. So we're not talking about like, oh, you depend on other people for survival. It's more like socialization purposes. Yeah. And this is quite an interesting spin as well, because I feel like a lot of these topics, we fall kind of in the same end of the spectrum on things. You know how we've obviously spoken about like cheating, and we have the same views on cheating, or like how to go about this, how to cut off a friend. It might not be the exact same, but it's like kind of. Yeah. This is one where I'm not like, oh, we beef about it or anything.
You've got low battery already.
That's okay. But I think we have different approaches with like alone time and stuff. At the end of the day,
we are different people, and we have different like levels of needs. So I think
hierarchy of needs. Yeah. So who's that? Maslow. Yeah. Is that his name?
Yeah, that is a name.
It's probably that. I saw you retweeting a hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, and
the have a nap.
Yeah,
with the little cat.
But I really like the that's not a hierarchy of needs, though, was it?
Well, it's a hierarchy of something, education. But it was in the form of a hierarchy of needs, wasn't
it? I always giggle at them because I'm like, oh, I should be that one, but
you'd have a nap. That's where you are. That's where you were.
Having a little nap. But everyone at home is like, what? What was that little?
I'll send it to Becky and she can put it on the screen.
What, having a little nap?
The hierarchy of needs, that one. Yes. The have a little nap needs.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess, okay, you'll see where our like stances fall in our answers to the following. So should we go on to the first box?
Yeah.
So the first box is a simple one of, would you feel comfortable taking yourself on a date? It was yes or no.
I feel like this was very broad.
Yeah, like solo date.
Because I feel like there's levels within this.
So what do you think was most popular?
Yes.
By how much? Do you want to give it some sort of guess?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards like 100% because I just think like taking yourself on a date could be anything. But then I'm also thinking, saying taking yourself on a date, are people thinking like I'm taking myself for a meal, I'm going to the cinema on my own? Maybe like,
oh, I'm so like
85.
Oh, I wish you'd have just like gone higher. It wasn't 100.
I nearly said next to 100.
93% of people said yes and 7% of people said no. And you know what? I kind of did feel surprised by this, because
imagine if you know what you voted for and you see us click and then just giggle.
Like, oh, like, damn. It's like that, isn't it?
Got him.
What would you vote?
See, this is what I mean. There's different levels. I would say yes because I do go and do things. However, I'm aware that I think if you had to vote for me, I think you would vote no.
I think you can tell me how far wrong off I am based on this read of you. I think it would be a no for you because you would go out and do the things, and we'll come back to this far later. You would go out and do the things that you would do day to day. But to take out, to take out a slice of time purely for enjoyment of, I want to go and do this, and we'll talk about like the ideal solo dates after, but I want to go and do this thing that is pure enjoyment. There's no like necessity out of it. Would you go and do it on your own, or would you be like, oh, who wants to go with me? Who wants to go do this thing? Shall I wait? I'll wait until Eliz is off work.
You know what my answer to that is.
So was it a correct read? Like, was that read fair?
Actually, so when I was thinking about this question, I said to myself, because we planned separately this week, so I kind of feel like I can't be like, I was thinking this. I said to myself, sat at my desk one morning, that I would take myself out on a solo date, full stop. I would do it. If I had no one in the world and I wanted to go see this film, I would do it. But matter of fact is that I like doing things with my friends and I like the company of others. So realistically, if I wanted to go see a film, the likelihood is I'm not in like, I have loads of friends way. I have a friend who would want to go to see it.
So you're saying no because you have the choice of other people that can do it with you in some
theory,
way?
I would go on a solo date. In practice, I wouldn't, because I would rather use that time.
So, my next question. If you wanted to go somewhere, I'm gonna say Ganny, because I know Lizzie went to Ganny, so it's like fresh in my head. If you wanted to go to Ganny, it was one day left of like a sample sale, but I had work all day today, and you wanted to go to it, because you knew you wanted to buy something. Would you go to it?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, then, so you maybe would take yourself on a date.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I said yes.
Yeah. Does this 1,000% you would say yes?
Does this surprise you in any way?
Eliz is, in this case, the polar opposite to me. As in, if I want to do something and Eliz is working 8 till 4, I will wait until 5 and I'll be like, okay, I'll just do that at 5. Tomorrow, I am working until 1:30. And I said to Eliz, oh yeah, we can go to an exhibition. And Eliz went, yeah, well, I'm going to do something in the morning. And I'm thinking, why would you not just wait until 1:30 and we can go do something? And this is where we're complete opposites, because I just like, why would I waste my like physical energy of going somewhere when I can just do it with you when you finish work?
But why would I waste my time off? Like, there's only a finite number of hours until I'm back at work again for 5 days.
But how many things can you fit into a day?
Exactly. How many can I?
That was so Wonka core.
Scratch that, reverse it. It's also so, huzzah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I said something you didn't understand. There's usually so much context behind the jokes we made, but that one just isn't.
Huh. Double huh.
Oh. Good heavens.
That's them trying to figure out our inside jokes.
Yeah. I basically just said, if you want to do something and no one else wants to do it or no one else is around, why not?
But you see that in that phrasing, that if you want to do something and there's no one else there to do it with you, that's why you're doing it on your own. But there's not a scenario in which, what if like is there ever a time in which you're like, I don't want to go to this with Lilyemma?
Not really, but sometimes, and this is not with you, because I know you've just placed yourself in the example.
But I'm not going to be like, is there ever a time you want to do something without Becky? Like, that would be so mean.
Well, there's always the time. We could always go charity shopping together. I'm going to be very vague about this. I can't think of a specific thing. We could always go to the charity shops together. But sometimes, I'm like, I would like to go to the charity shops on my own. And when I go home, that is one of the things I look forward to, is the time alone that I can go to the charity shops. And this somewhat now bleeds into the next one, which is the dream solo date. But I will explain why. Because you're forced to think about like
Mm.
what you want out of something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the charity shop, sorry, I sound like I was gonna cry there.
Just thinking about the charity shop. And the other thing is,
she's really happy.
sorry, if you guys listened to the last Platinum Mixtape, we had to do a disclaimer that we hadn't seen each other all day because we were filming this after Eliz had work, and I feel like we need to do another disclaimer here.
Did I just come back from
She's
work?
just come back from work.
Yeah. With the charity shop example, you go, you're not dilly-dallying. But is this because I'm a very straight to the point person? I would want to go in there, do my thing, get the things I need, try them on, or I won't, and I'll get the things and I'll leave. And this could be the exact opposite for someone that likes this kind of thing. But I'm like, the chat around it, I could do without when I know the thing I want is to shop.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking with this next question box, was I like doing things on my own, but when they're like an active thing to do. I think I got better in the summer, because I was aware that I needed to do things on my own. I was like, I am a grown woman. I need to be able, like, because I was quite a nervous person. I think that's fair to say. So I haven't got like tons of experience in like going to a restaurant and eating on my own. That's and I think that started to bleed into other areas of my life. So in the summer I was like, I need to make more of an effort to push myself and do things on my own. So I got better at like sitting somewhere and doing something, but it still was with a purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like I was still like going on a walk to go and sit and do this.
I like to see you doing things alone, like,
because you know I'm doing it like
small example. You were gonna make a matcha, but you didn't want to do it without me the other day.
No, I was gonna make a coffee.
Coffee, similar energy, and I was like, just do it alone. Do you know what I mean? I just
have it. I just find it boring to do things on my own. So
that's something to unpack, really. Like, not in a this is therapy, but like, why do you not enjoy your own, like, blast the music, make the coffee, like sit down, you have that coffee, like silence. Like, is that just me that likes silence?
But I guess I do a lot of like stuff on my own anyway.
True.
Like I think we cut myself a bit short.
I'm not cutting you short.
But I'm not saying like it's a bad thing for me not to like do things on my own. However, I do a lot of things on my own, especially now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the time, I'm just kind of sat in a room. Sorry, the camera cut me out.
The camera.
And
I'm in my room alone.
So much has happened. We had to change the battery
a lot,
and then
a lot just happened. You know how it is.
But yeah.
Do you remember your point? Is that you're learning?
Yeah, is that I'm learning, and also I think being independent. It's kind of what I was saying at the start, and I'm aware that it's not majorly the topic. That being independent is more than going to dinner on your own. I think maybe my opinions on these are skewed because I spend a lot of time alone just reading and just researching. So that when
that's okay.
Things,
like,
yeah, but then when I do want to do things, if I wanted to go to a charity shop, I would want someone with me because I would get bored on my own because I do that all day every day. Do you know what I mean?
My final point on this matter was, and it kind of is cringe, and I'm hoping it is a phrase from somewhere, because if not, I just made up something really cringe. So, when you're obviously like spending time with your friends, you're watering the plant of friendship, but are you watering your own plant of self-fulfillment? Don't mug me up! Don't mug me up! Don't! I'm gonna be sick! I'm gonna be sick, stop!
Oh my god, I'm gonna cry! That's so funny!
Did I not speak facts? She's fairly happy! But like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you...
You sat on my floor writing that.
Yes! Watering the plant of friendship, are you watering your own... Are you watering your own plant? Self-fulfillment. Anyway,
it sounds a bit sus.
What are you watering your own plant? It's giving that. Is your muffin buttered? It's giving that, isn't it? But I don't mean it like that. I just mean like, are you like slicing out the time for yourself? We'll get onto that in a bit. I am moving on. if that's okay with you. 'Cause I can't deal with this anymore. I'll throw up.
So you just want to say the statement and leave?
Do I? Mic drop. Do I have to? Must I go on? Mic drop.
Oh, I bet that's made a horrible noise for the podcast listeners.
Well, at least you audioly got to see my
nice name.
Audioly. It's giving adiola.
It's like giving aioli.
Anyway, we'll go, because the thing is, if you talk about like feeling comfortable on a solo date and whatnot, we do have to talk about the dream solo dates, and we did ask you guys that, and your contributions were lovely. I also contributed myself. We'll do that at the end. A lot was coffee, not gonna lie. That was very much
I feel
the vibe.
As someone who doesn't do frequent solo dates, a coffee for me.
It's short and sweet.
That feels very fulfilling. I think when I sit down and just with my book, I'm like, yeah.
Well, someone said sitting in a coffee shop watching, Pretty Woman. Does this mean what? Yeah, because I initially thought it was Pretty Woman the film, but then I've done this lol. Is that Pretty Women? That's also, you could do that either way, whichever one you want to do. Coffee, snacks, shopping. This one, a cute dog walk.
This is something I used to do a lot.
You're not alone.
Yeah, I used to do this a lot. I used to walk my dogs a lot.
Yeah, that feels like, because this whole thing is like with people. Yeah, they're not a human, but like it's still some sort of like it's fulfilling you in another way. Like you're going out and doing something alone, but you kind of have like the companionship of a pet.
Yeah, I think I used to do loads with Bella before I moved to London.
Borrow my doggy?
Because I could drive. So I would just drive to places with her.
Side note,
she was like a crazy dog, so it wasn't actually relaxing. She doesn't like other dogs. So.
Side note, being able to drive or have access to public transport is an important thing of like enabling you to be able to do the things. You know, if you can't go anywhere, it's probably a lot harder to be like, if I could take myself anywhere, I'd go and do this. But if you actually can't, you can't help that.
I always say to people, like when I'm at home, at my family home for like extended periods, especially during the summer, I'm like, oh, but I can't just like go out and do something on my own because I don't have a car anymore. And I can't just like go to the park and sit and read the same way I can just go to Victoria Park and read in London because it's just not really done there. Like I think in London it's very normal to do things on your we've spoken about this before. It's very normal to do things on your own, and it's
you'll go out and see everyone's alone.
Doing things on their own. Everyone's in the summer, everyone's sat in the park just existing on their own. Whereas I feel like if I went and did that in my village, I think someone would like call the police on me.
It's not like taboo, but is it because, and this is like a weird like assumption or more just question for people in smaller places, villages and whatnot, is it because it's more family based, so people are doing things for their families, whereas cities, people in apartments and like quick paced jobs and stuff, it's like you're doing a lot more on your own anyway, so is that higher level of independence? Maybe there's obviously cases of the other way around in both. More book shopping and coffee, drinking wine on the beach in the sun with my book. I like that.
Yeah, I respect that one.
Again, good weather is going to play into it a lot.
Yeah, I like going to the beach because it's also like like so obviously I don't like doing things on my own because I get bored, but like if I'm at the beach I can like hear the waves.
Yeah.
Not like I need to like drown out the voices in my head. I don't want it to sound like that, but like there's like
complete silence is like.
Maybe I just don't like silence because I have tinnitus.
Well,
Maybe that's why I don't like being on my own.
I'm not sure anyone does all of these things in complete silence. Well, obviously the book, you're like, your brain is somewhere else, but like, I wouldn't go shopping without headphones in.
I wonder if some of these people would.
Some people probably would, and you're the highest level. Like
I bet book shopping's nice silent.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, I bet that's really peaceful because it's giving library.
Yeah, true.
But I don't even go to library.
I wouldn't go in the silent area of a library. I'd need some hustle and bustle noise.
I never go in the silent area of a library.
I don't need to go to a library anymore. Something super simple like going out for a coffee and a bagel. You're our kind of person. Absolutely.
I think a bagel, if you're not a I'm gonna take myself to dinner kind of person.
It's good in between.
Yeah, because I had someone. This is a bit off topic. I had in one of my classes, I had someone be like, yeah, so like when you're done at the archives, just go to dinner and you're going to be sat at dinner on your own anyway and just upload all your files. And I was like, why is that like a common thing? Like, you're just going to go sit in the restaurant and have your laptop out and do work. But that is something that people do, especially like researchers. But I was like, wow.
I think I was thrown into like, because no one's really said a full meal alone. I was somewhat thrown into like eating alone when I first had my retail job when I was like 15, because I had to eat and it was in a shopping centre. So I would go to each places. Yeah, we didn't have anything, so I had to go out somewhere. And it would be as simple as like a potato. I went to Spud You Like all the time. Spud You Like, may you rest in peace. It was so good. So that was one, and like handmade burger, another one. Like it was quick things. It wasn't like a full 3-course meal, but it like forced you to like do it in that time.
Yeah, whereas I wasn't a big foodie as a teen. Like I didn't really go out for meals with my friends a lot, let alone like.
No, I didn't really with friends. It was maybe because like, you know, when you have to do something, you don't then want to do it when you don't have to. Yeah. That was it.
Oh, I used to hate it when I worked in retail. So I've shown you where I used to work.
Yeah.
And there was a shop next to it. See, this is kind of showing me for like the little like nervous like teen I was. Is there was a shop next to it and it was a mini restaurant but like mainly like a shop, and they did chips. And it was quicker than going to the chip shop. I worked at the coast, like it was like a seaside town. And it was sometimes quicker than the chip shop, so I'd go there, and then sometimes they'd be like, "Oh, we'll bring it 3 for you." So they'd bring like the plate because it was right next door. And then the times I always used to get a bit scared. It'd make me like stand there and wait for my plate, and then I'd have to like walk out of the restaurant with my plate and then take it down to my staff room. And that was so like one of my like.
I'm not sure anyone would
be
that comfortable. Like that's
Oh, you think people would be comfortable with
the
that?
thought of, because taking a plate out of a restaurant is not the social norm. Yeah. You take your plate from the person and you eat it in the restaurant, or you have a takeaway box. Yeah,
it's taboo.
I wouldn't.
It's taboo.
Yeah, it is taboo. I wouldn't put that down as like shy versus like
but everyone did
not shy. Yeah, there, but I've never seen that anywhere else.
In the restaurant, I guess.
I suppose.
I guess this would have solved the whole thing.
Maybe
if I just got more comfortable in eating in a restaurant, I would have had to take my plate of chips to go eat in the stock room. But that was probably not right in management.
Yeah. Someone else said go-karting. I don't disagree, but that one's on the very like confident side of things, because, and I'll get on to like what I've said after, but it's relying on socializing with other people to some extent, because like you can't go ramming into people. Do you know what I mean?
Do they mean bumper carts or go-karting?
Go-karting. You're racing against people, right? So this is almost like a team building activity, but that could be just what you need. Jump in the deep end. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess you like going for a drive.
I do, but I feel like racing other people.
Like maybe it's the same kind of like,
But it's the music aspect I like of that.
Yeah, I used to like solo driving.
In fact, I don't like driving. I like going my route and then going to a car park and listening to music.
It makes you sound like such a little cretin. Like I like going to the car park and sitting and listening to my music as my solo day.
Giving like picking up teenage girls. Awesome. Yeah, I don't do that. Day out charity shopping and sitting in a cute cafe, mooching around. I love that mooching around. That's so what you should do. Walking in nature followed by yummy food.
I feel like that's on par with like beach.
Yeah,
like you have nature sounds. And are you really alone when you're in nature?
Wow, that's so
bugs and creatures.
Deep. Bugs, nice.
That's my little
life.
My little
saying.
Are you really alone if you're in nature? Are you spending too much time watering your friend's plants?
If a tree falls and no one's around to hear it, did it really fall? If a dog barks, I know I've done this before. Yeah. If a dog barks and no one's around to hear it, did it bark? Someone else said. I said. I said on like a wildly grand scheme of things traveling, like solo travel.
Yeah.
Because
it's interesting that no one said that.
Yeah, because that is like, if you have a place where you would like to go to and no one else would, you can go there. You might socialise on the way, but the act of going is like a
Solo
grand
traveling's
thing.
a big thing. We've not done it, but I know like it's for a lot of people it's like a key part of them like becoming an adult is like I've done this solo travelling and it's really helped me figure out who I am because I've just been left by myself to just fend for myself.
So perhaps like money and availability and accessibility aside, if you can or presented with the opportunity, should everyone attempt a solo travel at some point, even if it's not like, I'm going to Bali for 3 weeks and all I have is like one small bag and a dream, that you could do it however you want to and wish, glamping and whatnot. Go Scotland. You don't have to go far. Don't know why Scotland, but just somewhere.
Solo travelling's my worst nightmare.
But if you did it, would it then turn things around?
Just think I'd find it boring.
But then, okay, take like Paris.
What's a trip to Paris without a giggling friend?
You'd be giggling.
You'd
be looking at the Eiffel Tower thinking, ah ha ha.
Like, what would I be giggling about? Well, I guess I did just make myself
Yeah, like
earlier.
the simple things. I find myself funny. Like, do you not like have
I do find myself funny.
Your inner thoughts? That's funny.
Yeah.
And you can FaceTime people and whatnot. You can have phone calls. You don't have to do everything in complete solitude. I think that, well, with the point of the solo travel, you would meet people along the way, but you wouldn't plan your entire journey with someone. So you could go to Paris and then on your first night meet some great people. You've still solo travelled. Yeah. Just because you've then met people and gone on to, you went to the Louvre with one person, Harry, and then you went to the Eiffel Tower with Jack. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've done this and that.
I really thought you were going to say Timothy.
Okay, and then you walk along the Seine with Timothy. Like, you've done all this, but you have solo travelled still. Wow. 3 men. Mamma mia. I also said, and this will lead on to my explanation, is cinema, because no need to talk. Because I said, I would do this, wouldn't do that. I would go to the cinema, and also a lot of people said live music, concerts, gigs. I would not go to a comedy club, because that feels very like you are alone, and you might get picked on for being alone, and for me, that's a bit too far. However, like, the cinema and the concerts, it's so self-contained, and you are stimulated by something external that you're not really going to be speaking to someone else if they were there.
Yeah, I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so I went to Billie Eilish alone. Once she was on stage, like, I wasn't going to be, like, turning to you and chatting with you anyway at length. Like, they might be like, I love this song. Like, this song reminds me of this. But then, like, I could just think that to myself.
I think it does depend on the type of concert, though. Because I saw, God, this feels like crazy now. I saw part of Maisie's set at Barn on my own. And I did enjoy it, and I'm glad that I did it, because it's something that I wouldn't have done. However, I feel like I didn't, like, if you were there, I would have been like, woohoo! And, like, you'd be a bit lit, whereas I feel like I was in front of people I knew, and I just kind of had to be like,
Well, to start with, when Billie came on, I was a little bit like, okay, we're getting into this. And then, like, I was like, well, other people probably are alone. And if I don't, like, throw it back and, like, just jive a little bit. I was, And, you know what? I had to force myself to do it before Billie as well, because Girl in Red was the support. And I was singing along to her. Like, I was singing along, and also that's, like, not as many, obviously, she is famous, but less people go for her, so you don't necessarily know her music. I was sounding like, you're so pretty! And it was great. And I felt it was almost, like, silly. So I was like, I feel silly, but in, like, a nice way.
Like, quite, like, release.
Yeah, it's like, once you do the silly thing and no one's turning around and being like, why on earth are you singing to Girl in Red right now, loser? Like, then it's like, yeah.
You down the stairs.
Yeah. Crime. Like, it wasn't like that, so. Like, once the silly thing happened, I was like, oh, okay, you can do it. And then it's like, bad guy. Maybe I will get to the ground and jump, like, all this. Like, maybe I will do all these things.
Yeah.
And I've said that because, like, they're all, like, very, like, stimulated, like, mentally by it. Because if you are bored by the thing you're doing alone, you're probably more aware of the fact that you're doing it alone.
Yeah. In the summer, I liked my little self-reading dates. I was writing a lot, and when I wasn't, I was like, I need to go do something. I can't just sit at home. And it's nice weather, so what I would do is I would walk to a park and I would sit and I would read for like a couple hours, and I really liked it. And I wasn't bored then. And even when I was walking somewhere, I had like music on, so and I had somewhere to be.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like, I'm bored. And you know what, when I do things on my own, I don't sit and think like I'm bored.
It's like,
But
if you go to like a meal and nothing is going on, and you're waiting for the food and you're like, okay, what do I do now? You're probably bored and you're like, well, if I had someone opposite me, I would talk. But if you're like,
and sometimes it's boring with that person.
True,
Like
doesn't
maybe some people are like,
necessarily
I would rather go to a meal on my own than be sat across from a friend who's just like
complaining all the time.
Like,
If you,
this wasn't what I did this week. It was kind of boring.
I've thought of something that I didn't want to do with you. Like, this is about to sound really mean, but I've discussed this with you. We were thinking of a place to go when my mum came down to visit for dinner, and there's a specific place that I really wanted to go to. But I said I would rather go alone. I would rather not go with you and mum. It was a tofu Chinese. It was like quite big, like, and I was like, purely because unless you're really in the foodie mood, not that you're not adventurous for food.
This makes it seem like I never eat out, even though like on Platinum Mixtape we always are.
We're very indulgent people. Think about our Ben and Jerry's journey this week. But like, in terms of, I know what like foods you'd be like, yeah, absolutely, it's smashed it out of the park right now. If we went to a good pizza place,
this pizza,
yeah, like if it was a new pizza place, I know that's Chinese food. You could probably would really like it, but like you could give or take. I would rather go with a foodie that would like, oh my god, I'm gonna absolutely like, I will think about going to this Chinese place for a week. Or I would rather go alone.
Yeah, and like you'd want to go with one of your brothers. That's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Or like if they can't, because I don't live near them. Like I could go to that alone and just do it. I
guess that's where the line draws. Then that is literally the scenario: is that some people do things on their own because they've not got a suited friend for it, and they're not gonna miss out.
Yeah,
and they're just gonna do it on their own because that's life.
Because I'll do that at some point. Because what if the Chinese place closes? And it looks really good, and it's like, well, we just did a substitute and we did that as a group and whatnot, and that was really nice. But at some point I probably will just go there alone and stuff. Like I did the fast fashion alone because it's like, I'm not going to drag you there. Sometimes it's that as well, like if there's something that you want to do but it's somewhat a need as well, like but it won't really fulfill the other person, why drag someone there to do it when you could just do it yourself and enjoy it? So yeah. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is another poll, so I'm going to ask you what one. It was, do you prioritize? So this is like not like what you do or what you'd like to do, but really thinking inwardly. Do you prioritize time alone or time with friends? The 4 options were
alone. I thought that was going to be the options.
Alone time is really important to me. 50-50, I like a balance. Keep it social, but I prefer my own company. Or I thrive on being around my friends a lot.
Keep it social, but what is it? Keep it social, but
I prefer my own company. It actually was not. 62%.
It was a wild card. I wasn't 100% sure on it, but I thought, you know what?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It happens. It's been happening a lot recently. You guys are surprising me.
I'm sorry. 62% of people said 50-50, I like a balance. 15% of people said I thrive on being around my friends a lot. And then, joint bottom, weirdly, 12% each, was alone time is really important to me and keep it social, but I prefer my own company.
That's crazy. I should have gone for you guys going on the 50-50 splits. You always go on the 50-50 splits.
Just do it with your chest. Just pick the polarizing ones. Like, why not? Don't go in the middle. I'm going to take away...
You're atting everyone all the time. We just posted a reel which is called you guys all liars.
I'm going to take away the middle choices. You guys need to make a here or there decision. Yeah. Even though I don't know which one I did. What would you vote?
I'm just trying to reread my notes and like refresh on what I was thinking.
I think I might fall somewhere either alone time is really important to me or keep it social, but I don't prefer my own company. I adore it, but I'm also very happy to be social. So again, that maybe would be 50, I wouldn't say 50-50 though. I don't know where I fall.
I think I would say, not necessarily I thrive on being around my friends, but I thrive on being around people.
Yeah.
I think I have a very
People
social
person.
job.
Yeah. Why
And
not?
even like the difference between a day in which I'm at home all day on my own and a day in which I'm at work, I'm happier. Like, I'm happier when I'm at work than when I'm alone. But
You
like,
like
I'm
your job.
happier having social interactions at work. So I think I would be on the...
You thrive on it.
Yeah, I think I would be on the... Yeah, I thrive on being around my friends.
Because if you're like slightly, I think you're quite extroverted. Like, when we're in a situation with new people, not I leave you to do the talking, but a lot of the time you're very good at doing the talking.
Once I get past it,
like, I feel I'm not sure how you guys think we are, you know, because you don't see us day to day. I'm not sure if I might come across louder than you in these.
yeah,
But when you put us in social situations, I think you become the butterfly.
yeah.
And like when I'm comfortable, but when I'm not,
I
I'm
always say
really
to
not.
people that you're a shy person in nature. So if you're paired with another shy person, there's nothing there, and you know exactly what I'm thinking.
I know exactly who you're thinking.
And I'm like, that's how I always explain it, whereas I feel like
I'm awkward, so I'll sense, I'll vibe check the other person if it seems like it will bounce.
I mean, like whenever you meet my friends from work, everyone at my work, most people at my workplace, especially like my friends, are very outgoing, and that's why they're in that job, because they're very like, could talk to, what is it?
An apple about an orange. But does anyone else get this where like, so if you're really shy, I'm not sure you have to be like a certain level of extrovert and I can really like become my own with you. But if you're like really, really, I will then become really shy. Like, I won't know how to like slot into your level of like extroversion. I'm not sure if there is a word for that, but where you are. But yeah,
I think I'm an extroverted person. I just think something went wrong that meant I was a bit too awkward at one point.
Was that just like growing pains? Yeah. Like, now that you are the person that you will be?
Yeah.
Did you not know the person you were, but you just weren't there yet?
Yeah, and I also think it's a case of not to like attack small towns and things like that, but I think it was a case of I had been around the same people for pretty much my whole life until I was 18, and those people weren't really my people. There wasn't anyone really with like similar interests and things like that. So I think it was probably a case of I became a shy person, and then now that I have people who I can not be shy about, now when I meet new people, I don't have that awkwardness. Yeah. But sometimes I'm a bit too open, I think. Sometimes I get a bit too comfortable with people and I say things I shouldn't.
But you know, we both done that.
This doesn't with specific people. I do it to anyone. Anyone that's like a bit too friendly with me, I start saying like not offensive things, but I start saying things and I'm like, I actually like, especially in like professional scenarios.
Can I tell them that one? Because that one's funny. I don't think that's bad. Your one.
What, the one at Rough Trade?
No.
What were you thinking?
This can be bleeped out, but child of divorce.
Oh no, say this one. This is another one. Yeah.
She asked.
Crop out that Rough Trade bit and then put this one.
What's the Rough Trade one?
Holly.
No, the Holly one is so funny. We won't tell you.
But like,
no, we met Holly Humberstone.
There you go.
No, I'm not gonna say what you said, but we met Holly Humberstone, and there was just this like interaction between the three of us where something like not explicit was said,
like a bit of an accidental innuendo,
a bit of a double entendre or whatever, and you said it. Me and Holly both like, it was just, I don't know, something happened. That's for sure. Something
I do this a lot, and I think it's kind of like, it's probably a case of where I was so nervous when I moved to London that I wasn't extroverted, so I overthought everything I said. And now when we meet people, especially like people in the industry,
speak your mind.
I'm comfortable because, not to be cheesy, but the podcast has made me more comfortable, and I'm like, this is who I am. We are personalities at the end of the day, and I'm like, you know what, I feel comfortable that when I meet people, and especially if we're having them on the show, I'm like, we can be ourselves because that's what we're here to do. Which is then what happened.
And then, so Barn on the Farm, she asked Thomas, like, what was it? Thomas Heeden? This is something.
Someone else. The thing is that there was no need for me to say it because he was talking to our friend, and they were talking about Taylor and Harry, and then because I just wasn't thinking, I just went, child of divorce.
But it's so funny because, like, what if he was a child of divorce?
Like, obviously, like Taylor and Harry. Luckily, no one else heard it but us. And like, it was one of those. It happens a few times, and we like no one listens to us because they assume we're talking to each other, and we were just behind them, like. I think Thomas might have actually turned around to like see what we were giggling about.
Yeah. I won't tell you who this person is, but I'll tell you my two because it's the same person. One of them, they'd had some very unfortunate like stage malfunctions, and then we saw them after, and there was just like a silence. So I was like, "Were you pissed off?" And they were just like,
they were taken aback. They were like, what?
And then the second time was the same person was like asked us when our birthdays were, and then there was just this like silence. It's like, is this a star sign thing you're doing? Like, is that what this is?
Maybe we should do things more alone. Like, I think we should be so sly.
This is like, because we're together and we have the combined sleigh of we're really confident when we're with each other. I probably wouldn't be like doing those things alone, and I'm aware that we're kind of going off topic completely now.
Yeah.
Now we've just
made confessions of awkward scenarios.
Oh, they're just so funny though. But okay.
The funny thing is that then, but before my interaction with Thomas, he said like, everyone overthinks everything they say all the time. Let's circle this back. In the interview, if you've seen it, I think it stayed in.
Rob.
He said it was about fan interactions, and he said every interaction's awkward because people are awkward.
Yeah.
And everyone overthinks what they do all the time. And he was like, I'm going to walk away from this interview and I'm going to say, why did I think that? Why did I say that? And matter of fact is that can be applied to life all the time. It's that we have scenarios where we're like, oh, that was really awkward. Why did I say that? That's going to happen whether we're talking to one another, whether we're talking to industry people, whether you're talking to a barista. There's always going to be awkward things. And that barista's probably said something awkward. That person that you asked if they were annoyed after their set definitely said something awkward that same day. Like, I just think, like, everyone's always messing up, and that's why you should do things on your own, because everyone's doing things on their own.
I'll go back to, like, my points about this. Do you ever, like, have an interaction with me and then you're like, is she annoyed at me? Or, like, did I say something, like, not, like, did you say something wrong based on, like, what I reacted? Would you ever walk away and think, like,
that was
did
awkward.
I say that? Like, do you ever have that?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I probably, like, no, because I think we would address them. Like, I quite often stumble over my words. Like, I quite often get words mixed up. It's almost like English isn't my first language and I've not got 2 degrees in it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just say the wrong word and it completely changes what I'm trying to say. I have got this weird new habit of, like, accidentally saying innuendos in front of people because I get a word wrong.
You don't have to worry about that with me.
Yeah. But I think that's the thing. I think when I started getting more confident was when I started just, like, finding things funny. And when I speak to people, if I say something wrong, I just laugh it off.
Like, there's no embarrassment if we're not embarrassed.
Yeah.
I actually think that is another topic in itself. And
we can tell these stories all over again, because they're always going to find them funny.
Like, this is more based on, like, independence and other people, not, like, coming into your own as, like, a person that doesn't care.
I think having this about independence and confidence are 2 very big things. I think confidence needs to be a separate thing.
I'm gonna write for notes for the future an episode about IDGAF and how to not.
You're not gonna know what that means.
How to not GAF. That's a good one, right?
Yeah, but, like, you're just gonna look on your notes and be like, why have I written that?
Seems like I just don't care about the episode. Yeah, so I said that I do prioritise friendships, and I prioritise spending time with friends, watering those friendships, if you will. However, another thing about me not preferring to spend time alone, but having liking to cut out a percentage of time to be on my own and do things, is because my social battery dies quite quickly.
Yeah, you have a very
like
short social battery.
Like, I can be really good, and the more people are then added to the situation, the quicker I like burn out in a social situation.
I think you need to recharge your social battery for longer, for like more frequently. I think I get very like built up over a long time and then like down for a long time. Whereas I feel like you're like short bursts.
Because I said at our party lol went upstairs. I actually had to recharge multiple times.
Last night you just left mid conversation.
I can't do it anymore.
God, it was crazy. It was the craziest thing. We were in the kitchen with our housemate, who was like the loveliest human being ever. So it wasn't anyone doing anything wrong. And Liz went, I actually have to go. And then we're like giggling it, and she's like, no, I have to go.
I want to be honest.
She didn't even go. She went into the hallway to sort out our coat and then went upstairs. And then our housemate just looked at me and went, and I was like, well, I'm not actually going to address her right now because she's above us.
Well, that's why, like, when B-Real went off, you were like, I'm jealous. I was like, but I'm recharging. This isn't like a fun nap. This is like, oh my god, I'm just here, like, in silence, just like. But I said, yeah, I thrive on the friendships that I don't necessarily need to, like, really put on the best, not best version of myself, but a very, like, full frontal version of myself. Yeah. So I would like to spend a lot more time with the friends.
Self-hydrating.
Yeah! Like, I would want to spend more time alone if that week I had spent a lot of time with people that maybe I don't know as well, or I feel like I could be very low vibrational, not in like a dull way. Yeah, I don't need to be like cracking jokes all the time with you, therefore I'm more likely to want to do more things with you. Not to say I don't enjoy cracking jokes, not to like self-proclaim funny friend myself, but I do think I'm quite like I don't know. Relief. I suppose I am. So would that make sense? Not to like therapize, but like would that make sense that the social battery needs to be drained more? Like I'm charging myself to then press the button to make jokes or something. I don't know. Oh no, yeah, and it's actually true because sometimes I'll just be sat there just like, do something funny.
Just do anything funny. Like that never works.
Because I'm not a wind-up toy. I'm not Woody. Oh, but our friend had Andy on his shoe at Halloween, and that was great.
Because he was Woody.
But yeah, I just said that because of like new socializing and whatnot, then I value doing things bit more like peaceful. And like that's one good thing about when you do spend time alone, like doing things, you can do it completely on your own time. But if you are planning to do things as a group a lot, you do have to like work on everyone's schedules, and it's taking into account everyone. But if you're like, I'm gonna go on this solo date today, you can just be like, okay, I'll go at 2, but you know, if I'm not ready for 2, then I'll go for 1:30. But if you have your friend that's waiting there at 2, you can't go 1:30 because otherwise you're late.
Yeah, my final point was just to illuminate the difference between spending time with friends that drain you and not, which is kind of what you were just saying. I think a lot of the time I feel like I don't leave social interactions with genuine friends drained, which is why I think I can then value time with friends as opposed to on my own.
But then, not to say that if you leave a social situation feeling like, you know, battery needs charging, like last night. It's also
the kind of things you do though, I guess, because a lot of the time I have like solo friends. So then, in fact, me going to go see one friend for a coffee is my version of a solo date because I've had to get myself there.
True. Like when I left last night, it wasn't because I feel drained being around you guys. It was that just happened to be the time.
Back from work as well, though.
Yeah,
so
like
then you're around not friends.
Yeah, it just like it was the time.
It was just an unfortunate time.
Yeah, like it wasn't the people around me at the time. You can't choose when your phone dies. Do you know what I mean? Can't choose when your social battery dies.
All the catchphrases today.
Right. Should we go on to the next one?
Yes.
This was, if you feel more dependent on time with friends, would you want this to change? And the 2 options were, I didn't give you a middle ground for this. I'm completely comfortable with this, or I would like to be a bit more independent, to be honest. What one?
I would like to be more independent.
Yeah, but like not by too much.
Wow.
So 58% of people said I'd like to be a bit more independent, and 42% of people said I'm completely comfortable with this. And I would like to just place in the flip side of it all. Like, you know how this is like if you feel more dependent on friends.
Yeah.
Also, if you feel like you spend a lot of time alone, that is fine as well. Or
Yeah.
you could want, do you know what I mean? Like either of them you could want to change or feel comfortable with. I know
Yeah.
that's a very obvious thing to say. What would you, do you feel like you would want to be a bit more independent? You don't have to answer that, but you actually don't.
It is feeling like a therapy session. I don't in my current life.
You're happy with where you're at?
In my current life, I think because I'm forced to do things on my own in the sense that, like, I started a PhD where I didn't know anyone and I frequently have to go to events.
Yeah.
And I know that in the not so far future, I'm going to have to go to, like, conferences and things completely on my own. And that's something I have to do. I think it's out of my hands at this point because I know that I'm being forced out of my comfort zone. And I think for the most part, I can see when an opportunity is pushing me out of my comfort zone, and if I have the mental capacity to do so, I allow it to.
It's a good thing to like keep in tune with yourself as to what you feel comfortable changing, letting more people in, taking people away and stuff.
and
Like you have to be very like in tune with what you're feeling and thinking.
And I think I've worked on knowing when I don't have the capacity to do something now. I can kind of say like, I don't want to do this thing because I don't feel like I want to do it.
And
but
also,
I'm not too comfortable in that I'm always going to turn opportunities down.
It doesn't have to be like, okay, right now I'd like to be a little bit more independent. That doesn't mean you then for the next year have to shut down every time a friend wants to see you. Like, I'm gonna do it alone.
Yeah, like, I'm like, I want to go eat this pizza, and then Eliz goes on her own the next day.
Yeah, or like, you're like, no, this only because it's like, we spoke about it yesterday. You know, if you were like to me, do you want to go see Pink Panther at Ali Pali? But I was on this, I'm going to do more independent stuff. So I was like, no, but I'm going alone. Like, I don't care that you just asked me to go, I'm going to go alone.
That'd be so awkward. Imagine if we both went on our own and both travelled back, then we both got off and was off on the same tube at the same time. Like...
But I basically said, in your position, if you are like in solitude or whatever, you could be like, I never see my friends. I'm too comfortable alone. I'm missing out on the friendships I want to actively maintain. Because you know how this like I'm too dependent on friends, and how I'm saying there's the flip side. That is it. Like, you could be like, I love doing things on my own. That's great. All the time I'm doing these solo dates. I really know myself for who I am on the inside. But I actually have never thought maybe my friend would like to do that with me.
Yeah, and I think also if I personally was the other way and I did everything on my own, I think I would really struggle to have someone join me. If I always went to be bagel on my own, I know me as a person, and I knew that if I brought someone along with me, I'd be like, oh.
It's like invading your space almost, which I know it's not like that, but it
I
feels
can see how it would be.
Feels like your peace is being like taken away a little bit.
And I think there's something nice about being dependent to a certain extent on your friends. I think it's a sign of strong and relatively healthy friendships if you're a little bit dependent. You know, if I'm like, I want to do this thing, but I know Eliz has done it before.
Yeah.
If I was to go get a tattoo and I was like, you know what, I'm feeling really nervous about it, I think I would like someone to come with me. I'll take Eliz because she has 15 tattoos.
Oh, do you want to see my new one? It'll be a bit blurry, but it's my cake one. If you listen to the Platinum mixtape, this is the one that looks like the cake.
Now, isn't it?
It's very crusty. It needs a good balm.
Yeah, so I think think there's something to be said that we're not saying it's bad to be dependent and it's good to be independent. I think it's good to have varying levels of each.
Because at the end of the day, like, everyone views friendships for different things. I kind of view friends on the people you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that is very base level friends. It's not people you want to do everything with all times of the day. But you probably have, to some extent, overlapping interests. So if you're going to every single exhibition alone when you know you're friends kind of want to go, and they might have even said to you like, should we go together? And you're like, I'm going alone. Like, do you want to be friends with them?
Yeah, do you not want to share? Do you not want to share the experience with them? Because that's what I have. I want to share experience with people.
Like, that's why, obviously, like I said, I like alone time a lot, but there's some things that I just wouldn't particularly want to do alone. Or, like, sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. Like, concerts, you kind of can do both, because I could, and I was actually planning to go to Jack Harlow alone, but then I was like, but we can share this, so why don't we? So it is kind of like, I guess, a grey area a little bit. Like, it's not complete, and I know I said I didn't give you a middle ground.
But we're now arguing for a middle ground.
We've kind of like self-inserted a middle ground just there. And then I just said, yeah, if you don't feel fulfilled, like, it's okay to kind of shift things a little bit. You could go one way and start like going on these solo dates a bit more, or spending more time with friends and being like, not right now, maybe in a bit. Because it also depends on like your relationship with yourself at that moment.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling really quite down and you don't really want to be alone, then depending on the people a bit more around you, like, that's okay. But if you're like, no, I'm on this journey to like really finding myself, I need to think like, what are the hobbies I like to do, not just because I'm going with friends. Like, anything can be fun to an extent with friends, but am I actually enjoying the activity? Then maybe that's something you need to do
like
alone.
You're not going to go to an exhibition with your really chatty friend who doesn't care about the exhibition.
Yeah. Like,
but if you're doing it because you purely don't want to go on your own, that's when there's probably a problem with your dependency.
Yeah, it's kind of like, and it's kind of a weird example. I went to like not hot yoga, but it was like warm yoga not that long ago, and I didn't know if I was particularly gonna like get on with it. But I feel like if I went with some friends, I would have been like, that was fun. I would do that again.
That was an experience.
Yeah, like, that was fun because I went with my friends, we did some yoga. However, I didn't actually really enjoy it, and I've not gone back since, and I feel like it would have been slightly clouded if I did go with friends. That's something I needed to do alone.
How warm was it?
It's slightly warmer than this room right now. I know that doesn't help you guys at home, but it was kind of like when you go into a room, you're like, oh, it's warm. But as opposed to, and this is kind of niche, like hot pod yoga, where you are physically sweating.
Like hot pod yoga.
You're sweating by even being in there. But this one, it was just a bit like, oh, this is a humid room. Yeah. So maybe you would like it.
Maybe you would like it.
Maybe you could go alone. And that's something that I will not go with you for. So there we go. And then, do you have anything else to add to be?
No.
To be quite honest, this one is what, and it's actually the last question box. What would potentially stop you from spending time alone? I actually need to turn the page. I'm gonna be completely real with you. And I just failed at it like 4 times. Cringe. Okay. Oh my gosh, on the last one. I didn't realise I'd put this, and this isn't even like a phrase, this is like some weird, brutal truth. Be your own friend, you die alone.
You live and die alone.
Yeah, we'll say. But you're not born alone. Because is the phrase something like, you're born alone, you die alone?
Oh, I don't like this.
You come into this world alone, you leave it alone. It's something like that, isn't it? And at the end of the day, that is true.
I'm not going to die alone, though. Like,
Well,
I think I'm not going to be in like a secluded room.
Probably not like that, but in like you have to really like be friends with yourself.
Yeah, because you're stuck with you forever.
In this world, it's just us. Right?
And he made that one up. He's gonna see it.
He's right there. He's gonna cut off. He's also bald, so
yeah, that's why he's slowly getting more and more cut out of this frame.
He being Harry Styles on the wall, because on her wall is in fact Harry. But yeah, he cut all of his hair off, so he doesn't get to be in the frame anymore.
Because I probably could crop him out fully, you know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So some people said a better offer. That was very like matter of fact. Yeah. Depression. I think it would stop me. This is one I couldn't read very well. I think it would stop me, as I think then it would be best to be around other people.
Yeah, I think it's important that if you're struggling,
like not doing
find support on other people. I think that's when you can be dependent on people. I think this is what I was saying earlier. I think everyone has at least one person they can depend on.
It's like
and
that
in times like that, it's a blessing that you can depend
Yeah.
on them.
It's like double-edged sword because you don't want to be so dependent on people, but it might be doing those things with friends as opposed to alone that can like get you through it.
Yeah, because me doing things on my own sometimes can make me really anxious and potentially wipe me out for the next day, and that can just be avoided by me taking someone. For example, I needed to get my reader's pass at the British Library, and I knew that getting there when I'd never been there before, doing this whole process and then showing myself around all on my own would be too much. I would be too anxious. The day before and the day after would just be a write-off. So I just waited until a friend could come with me.
And from like the different perspective, when things were just in just how they were like a few months ago, I'd go to the gym and I really enjoyed like the solitude of just the gym. I was like, I need to like
peace.
just no one else to possibly be around me whilst I'm doing this. However, there were some days where that was too much, and I just came and stood with you at the desk instead, and I was like, I can't do this. I need to just be around someone. Even when I came back from work yesterday, I was like, I'm just gonna be next to you, like I'm gonna curl up with this ball. And I know that's not like going out and being with, but it's the physical being
as well.
Yeah, like that's how I would work if I was in a low point, is not necessarily going out and doing things, but just like
being with someone.
You just do your own thing, you do your typing. I will have my head in my hands, but like, that's fine.
And boy was it funny.
She laughs at me when I'm down. It's crazy, isn't it?
Like, she was just so like and I'm aware that's like a crisis position. But...
Yeah, I was going, this is my cry for help.
It was so gosh darn funny.
We laugh about it now.
And she would put the weighted blanket on her.
Oh, I hate that weighted blanket. I'd rather be isolated than be with you in a weighted blanket.
Well, I was going to be in the blanket with you. I was researching.
Someone else said for like what would potentially stop you from spending time alone. Expectations to spend time with people, e.g. when I'm home spending enough time with family. That is true. Because you know how I said like when I go home I like charity shopping. Sometimes there is a part of me that is like, I'm only home for like, I tend to only go home for like 24 hours to 30 hours at a time.
Yeah.
If I'm not jam packing. Oh, we have spoke about this before to each other, like if you are home for a longer period of time, you have like select people you would usually see at home. You feel like you have to literally one by one like fit them all in, but it's like just because you're at a place where they all are does not mean you have to see them all. Like, and it makes time, you know how I say to you sometimes, like if I want to go home I want to do nothing and see no one except for like my mum, because time will go slower and I can just like be a bit more like enriched in like what's going on. But if I'm like, go orange tea with this person and I'm gonna go out for drinks after, and then the next morning I'll get brunch and then I'll drive, it's like the time goes so quick that battery is draining again. And like I've been with friends and not as independent because whatever, but at what cost almost.
It's the like you feel like you need to be with someone rather than you want to be with someone. I think that's where like that's kind of what I was actually thinking. I wrote, I'm going to read it because it's a bit like wordy.
I love when we just like read from the notes.
I think there's a difference between not doing it because you're scared, not doing it because you're always spending time with one specific person, and not doing it because you have no one to do it with. I think doing it on your own because you decided to do it on your own is fine. I think like not doing it because you're scared is obviously not fine. And I think also not doing something because you're always with one person is like a bit of a grey area. You know, if like I had a friend who was like, do you want to go see this exhibition? And I was like, sorry, I can't go with you because I'm going with Eliz. I think that's like,
it's a difficult one.
That's kind of how I thought, like, what stops you is that like we're seeing like independency, but I think there's a weird grey area there also where it's like I'm independent, so I'm with this person, but there's no more space for anyone else.
True.
I don't know, I feel like that's another conversation. I think that's like best friendships. I feel like there's an episode on that.
Okay, we'll note that down as well. Someone else.
That looks your little note.
Let me write. I'll write it. Best friendship. Right above, be your own friend.
No.
You die alone. Someone else said, if I'm likely to use the time for shoulds, e.g. tidying, than what I want/enjoy, That is so true, because I'm like, oh, tomorrow morning I have a few hours like myself, like, oh, this is some me time. I'm gonna get some real independence. In my heart, I am going to the gym and doing my washing, which for some that might be like thrilling. And like the gym is somewhat thrilling for me, like I enjoy it, but the washing part of it, that is a should, because I have the time for it now. But are you really being independent and like doing this like fulfilling activities yourself?
Yeah, like, yeah, having time for yourself needs to be having time to make yourself feel good, not to do things you need to do.
I don't know
there's
if,
like 3 categories of time.
yeah, I think this is like somewhat different, but I saw something on Twitter the other day where it was like, don't mix up someone's free time for their availability, because some of their free time, yeah, right? Sometimes their like free time is actually filled up with like shoulds, not wants. And then that's really difficult, because yeah, you're somewhat being independent, but you're doing the things because you have to.
I started thinking like that.
Yeah, then that goes back to like the base level, what we're saying, because we don't live at home. So, well, I know some people at home will do this, but some of our free time would go on the washing and the tidying and the grocery shopping, and they're all like shoulds. Yeah, so our battery died again, so here we are slightly jolted, but all in all, it's thinking about like your free time versus your actual free time at the end of the day. And then someone else said, which is such an interesting point, as a people pleaser, I find time alone so important, because I don't have to worry about anyone else. So then the flip side of that could be, like, this is like what stops you from spending time alone.
Yeah.
If you're a people pleaser and maybe you want to do something, but people bring up doing something and you kind of thought, oh, maybe I wanted to do that alone.
Yeah.
You don't have
prioritizing yourself.
Yeah, you don't have the heart to say, oh, I was kind of gonna do that alone. You know, like if you had this like mega Sunday plan and you were gonna go to B Bagel, but then they were like, oh, should we go B Bagel on like Monday evening? It's like, oh, but I'm going on Sunday on my own. Like now I feel like I can't because I'm gonna go again with friends.
We kind of
or
had
like
this at some points as a pair. Is that sometimes people, and we just like, oh, sorry, I've got something in my eye. Which is a dynamic that we've made with our friends, that they feel comfortable that they can invite themselves to things. But we had a couple of times where people were like, oh, I'll go to this with you. And we had to be like, oh, actually, that's kind of an important event that we wanted to go to us too.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hard boundary to put in place and to reinforce. But I think when you do it, you'll feel better for it, because I agree that I think alone time doesn't need to be like, I guess alone time doesn't need to be taking yourself on a date. It can be like spending my morning on your own.
Yeah,
just is what I do appreciate nowadays.
You could say that a solo date is having a lie-in and doing nothing, because all you ever do is go out with friends. And then, like this listener said, like, then you're not worrying about anyone else at the end of the day. Like, it's pure bliss, because you don't have to think like, are we doing that at the exact time someone else wants, or like did someone want this plan to be slightly shifted? Like it's just navigating like how you're going to be happiest. I also said like, what else could like stop you spending time alone is like, here feeling bad if a friend wanted to do something, just general nervousness and people looking at you. And I think that's a lot more like in one's head than it is in real life, because at the end of the day, people are a lot more concerned with themselves than they are ever going to be about.
And even if they are concerned about you, they'll forget about it. Yeah,
I've kind of found comfort in that at the minute. Like, sometimes when we're walking down the street, I do like to sing out loud, just like when we're like, have you noticed me do this? Like, when we sing, we share AirPods, but I'll just like sing, and I'm like, would I do this alone? And then I'm starting to think like, maybe I could, because like no one is gonna see me again. I wanted to sing that, obviously not in like weird moments, but just walking down the street, like if I wanted to hum or something, I could. It's very like not intrusive thoughts, but like you can do anything you want. And if people look at you, that's very judgmental on their part, that they're gonna look at someone like having a coffee on their own and think like, oh, could they not have found a friend to do it with? Like, what if I'm so happy? Like, I want to go to Blank Street and try the candy cane cold brew, but if no one wants to go, you do. So, like, we could do that tomorrow.
Yeah. With an exhibition. Sorry, guys. You guys trying to learn how to do independent things, and we're like, should we go to Blank Street and go to an exhibition?
But I'm like, that's what I know you would like to do. However, if you couldn't go. You're leaving town for like the next 2 months, and Candy Cane's gonna go. I'm gonna go, and I'll sit there. I don't know, to your man's. And I'm sat there, and someone's...
Oh, for the audio listeners, there's no man. We were looking sorry.
Could be a man, I don't know. We wouldn't tell you if there were. Yeah, like if someone's gonna sit there and look at me and judge, and I'm just there reading a book, or like I've gone to the charity shops and they're like, it's not that deep.
No.
Well, you have to remind yourself that it's not that deep, because it can really feel it if you are nervous and you're like, if it is something a bit more adventurous, like a concert or like a comedy show, and you've just been like called out, and then something about like your profession or something, and everyone's laughing, you're a bit like, oh, they're laughing at me. It's like, no, it's just the situation. If it was anyone else, if you were next to your friend as well, so you have to think like maybe just go to like Magic Mike on your own. Like that might be like the wildest thing one could possibly ever do. I don't know
if I could do that with a friend.
No, that's one thing with our friendship. The limit and boundaries is at the door of Magic Mike, because I don't think I could do that with you. Watch us go in like 3 months' time, because I think we have to.
I think we could do it ironically.
I think we could go drunk. Like if we had a couple drinks, we probably could, but because we're very like not rigid people sober, but we're very like, and I know I'm very awkward physically, so the thought of someone like,
I just wouldn't want to be anywhere like interactive, but I think it's all interactive.
If you sit at the front, it really is. I think if you're right at the back, they don't like do anything. I'm not sure. We've not been, so how would we know? The only experience I have of it is through Sophia and Cinzia's vlogs.
Yeah, twice.
That's all I know. But yeah, my final thoughts is whatever side of the spectrum you fall, and if you want to change, maybe get a bit more independent, spend a bit more time alone or whatever, just don't let like outside pressures make you feel like you have to conform to do that, because at the end of the day, if you are your best friend and you're like, I don't need a circle of friends to go and accomplish the things I want to do. I do X, Y, and Z every week. Every Friday night is my own date night. That is fine. However, if you do want to be a little bit more independent, you don't have to throw yourself in the middle of Magic Mike straight away alone and not tell anyone you've gone there. But and then just live stream it and be like, I'm here and you're not, and I'm with Mike. But he's magic. But it's like the baby steps of like working towards it. Like, even if you don't want to sit down with your coffee and a book, even the mere going to get it and taking it back to your house, something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I feel like we've said this, but I want to like close with it as well. There's no right or wrong to it. I think if you're really independent, that's great. If you're a bit more dependent on people, that's also great, because if that's what works for you and that's what makes you happy, then let it. Because just because you don't want to do something without someone, look at me. Sometimes I don't want to do things on my own, and I just wait until Liz is free, and my life's fine, and I'm content in it. I think the problem is when you're not content on either side, which is then when it takes work. And I think it's the baby steps. But I don't think there's like this idea that's like, if you're not the most independent, you're not living life to the full and you're not a real adult. That's not true.
Because you're probably not gonna like, at the most extreme, you're not gonna be on your deathbed and think like, I wish I did more things alone to that extent, unless there's things that you really feel like you should do alone, like this solo traveling, or like the things that will make you know yourself a bit more. Then if you want to do them and gain a bit more independence that way, so be it. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with just liking to spend time with your friends if you're all having a good time and they're the right people for you. The quote that I put on our Instagram stories at the end of the poll, I think, is a nice, like, this says, be so rooted that nobody's absence or presence can disturb your mood or inner peace. And I really feel that, because if they're there, if they're ruining it, then don't be there. And if they're not there and it's ruined because you want people to be there, get them. And I really feel like that is the end of it.
Yeah.
Just do what makes you happy.
Thanks for listening and watching, guys.
This was a really nice episode.
Yeah.
I really like that. Feel like it was a bit all over the place, but in like a nice way. It felt like a very natural conversation.
Yeah.
So thanks for conversing with me.
That's okay. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for having me, I suppose. It's your sofa at the end of the day.
True.
Thank you guys for having us in your ears, on your screen, in your hearts.
In your kitchen.
In your, well, I was gonna say in your bedrooms, but like this, that it takes a bit far.
Something I'd say to someone.
Oh, I was gonna say something else, and that's worse.
If you liked this, then there'll be another one in a couple weeks. Next week will be a platinum mixtape.
If you
you're
have,
a Spotify listener,
yeah,
you can listen to that.
If you have any topics that you're just like burning for us to talk about, then feel free to reach out. You can do it anonymously if you so wish, but you can just like DM us and whatnot. If you want to get involved, if you want to be like, I have this topic, here's my exact thoughts, even better. We have some topics, we always have them on the go. In fact, we thought of 2 more right in front of you. Yeah. But like, if you have some other ones, you're like, I just want to know, like, you might even think we would have the worst take on something ever, and you're like, I just need to know if you think so, like, weirdly about something as I think you would, then go ahead and ask us.
Yeah.
And
just like let us know if you have any other thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And the conversation can continue if you want. And
subscribe to us if you're watching on YouTube. Follow us if you're listening on your streaming platform of choice, and rate us 5-star. Give us a comment about any part of this. If you didn't vote in the polls, what would you have voted on? Yeah. Has it swayed your opinion a bit more? Were you like, no, I don't need anyone else in this life, but now you're like, maybe I kind of want to like go for a walk in the park with a friend.
Candy cane cold brew with a friend.
I want to do that so badly. So badly I want to do that. I'm gonna.
What will it be, pepperminty?
Oh. I don't know. I really don't know what I thought it was. I thought it was candy cane.
The candy cane is pepperminty, right?
And then the other one is chocolate orange mocha, which gives you.
It gives me, but I feel like.
Let's do a taste test on TikTok.
Towards it though.
Would you get the same one as me?
I think maybe.
Well, you should have got what was the speciality pumpkin one? You should have got that. I don't know if it's still there, probably not. I don't know. Again,
you guys don't need to know about blank street orders.
Yeah. So with that, have a nice 18th of the 11th, or whichever day you are listening to this on, because you might not be there on the first day. But we'll enjoy the rest of our 11. 1. If you're looking for angel numbers, that's it. 1. Just for you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Oh, little harmonizing.